Okay, yeah, that was a good one. Well, let's get into the leadership lessons by General Ulysses S. Grant. All right. Starting back up with where we left off on number 30. Turn mistakes into training opportunities. And moving on to number 31. First line supervisors do the most important training. Grant recognized that his top priority was to prepare his regiment for battle. Company commanders will have their companies divided into convenient squads and appoint suitable persons to drill them. The officers of companies are expected to be present and give their personal supervision to these drills and see that all their men are present. The lesson. The critical importance of the first line supervisor in the training of his or her people cannot be overemphasized. Training courses can teach needed knowledge and skills, but only the first line supervisors on the job training. The first line supervisors on the job training can weld a group of individuals into a unit that functions effectively. All right. Leadership lesson number 32. Common sense. Grant needed to teach his regiment the battalion drill. That is, the tactics that would use for troop movements. But, the tactics that he would use for troop movements. Skipping stuff here. But Grant had graduated from West Point at the bottom of his class in tactics and had not been at a battalion drill since the summer of 1846. In the intervening 15 years, the Army had adopted William Hardy's tactics. Grant got a copy and studied one lesson intending to confine the exercise of the first day to the commands I had thus learned. We were encamped just outside of town on the common among scattering suburban houses with enclosed gardens. And when I got my regiment in line and rode to the front, I soon saw that if I attempted to follow the lesson I had studied, I would have to clear away some of the houses and garden fences to make room. I perceived at once, however, that Hardy's tactics was nothing more than common sense. I found no trouble in giving commands that would take my regiment where I wanted it to go and carry it around all obstacles. I do not believe that the officers of the regiment ever discovered that I had never studied the tactics that I used. The lesson. You will rarely, if ever, go wrong by relying on common sense. All right, number 33. Go to the head. Rather, go head to head. But, it's important to go to the head, too. In July 1861, Grant's regiment was ordered to move against the camp of Confederate Colonel Thomas Harris. As he approached the camp, Grant's heart was in his throat. The place where Harris had been encamped a few days before was still there, but the troops were gone. My heart resumed its place. It occurred to me at once that Harris had been as much afraid of me as I had been of him. This was a view of the question I had never taken before, but it was one I had never forgotten afterwards. From that event to the close of the war, I never experienced trepidation upon confronting an enemy, though I always felt more or less anxiety. I never forgot that he had as much reason to fear my forces as I had his. The lesson was valuable. The lesson. Never be afraid to go head to head against your competitors. They are likely to be as concerned about you as you are about them. And don't be afraid to go to the head either. That's important. I got stories for days. Believe me. Believe you me. All right. Leadership lesson number 34. Nobody is better than a bad body. In early August, Grant learned that he had been promoted to brigadier general. He was ordered to Ironton, Missouri, where Colonel B. Gratz Brown was in command. Confederate General Hardy, the author of the book on tactics, as we previously learned, was believed to be just 25 miles away. Colonel Brown's command was very demoralized. A squadron of cavalry could have ridden into the valley and captured the entire force. Brown himself was gladder to see me on that occasion than he ever has been since. I relieved him and sent all his men home within a day or two to be mustered out of service. Lesson: you are always better off to operate short-handed with unfilled positions than you are to retain poor or unreliable performers. That's right. Number 35. Stay in the game. That's right. In late August, Brigadier General Benjamin Prentiss came under the command of Brigadier General Grant. Prentiss was so displeased at having to report to another brigadier general that he requested and received reassignment. General Prentiss made a great mistake on the above occasion. In consequence of this occurrence, he was off duty in the field when the principal campaign at the West was going on, and his juniors received promotion while he was where none could be obtained. A lesson: if because of false pride or perceived slights you take yourself out of the action and consequently miss opportunities for advancement, you have no one to blame but yourself. All right, that has been Leadership Lessons 31 through 35. All right, well, keep on trucking. All right.